The garage was quiet except for the sound of blood dripping onto concrete. Deshaun stood frozen, the heavy wrench still gripped in his trembling hand, his eyes fixed on a motionless body at his feet. One moment of rage had just changed everything. The man who had destroyed his marriage lay dead, and with him died Deshaun's future. Have you ever wondered how much pain someone can take before they break? When the person you trusted most betrays you, when the life you built crumbles before your eyes, what would you do? For Deshaun, a man who once rushed into a burning building to save his brother, that breaking point came on a quiet night in a garage, with devastating consequences. We all like to think we know how we'd react if we found out our spouse was cheating. We imagine calm conversations, maybe a clean break, or perhaps working things out. But what happens when public humiliation and taunting push someone who's already hurting beyond their limits? Tonight, we're looking at how a hero, a man who carried the scars of saving his brother's life, found himself facing 15 years in prison after a single moment of blind anger. How does someone go from selfless protector to convicted killer? And what would you have done in his place? Before we dive into this heartbreaking story of loyalty, betrayal, and consequences, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to Crazy Crime Files. Every day, we bring you stories that make you think about the thin line between ordinary people and life-altering mistakes. Click that bell icon too, so you never miss a new upload. Now, let's get into how Deshaun's world fell apart. Growing up in East Atlanta during the early 90s, Deshaun and Rashad Carter shared more than a last name. They shared a bond that neighborhood troubles couldn't break. Their small home on Glenwood Avenue wasn't much, but it was filled with laughter and the smell of their mother's cooking. Their father worked double shifts at the local factory to keep food on the table. That normal life ended when Deshaun was 14 and Rashad just 10. A late-night phone call changed everything. Their parents' car had skidded off a rain-slicked highway. Neither survived the crash. Grandma Esther moved into their home the next day, bringing her Bible, her record player, and a strength that defied her 70 years. "You boys still got each other," she would remind them. "And as long as I'm breathing, you got me too." Deshaun took those words to heart. With his parents gone, he appointed himself Rashad's guardian. When neighborhood kids tried bullying Rashad for his second-hand clothes, Deshaun was there. When Rashad struggled with math homework, Deshaun stayed up late helping him, despite barely understanding it himself. Their grandmother worked cleaning houses, so Deshaun learned to cook, making sure Rashad ate before walking him to school each morning. "My brother is like my right arm," Deshaun once told a teacher who asked why he missed class to attend Rashad's parent-teacher conference. "If something happens to him, I might as well lose part of myself." Through high school, while friends chased girls in trouble, Deshaun worked after-school jobs. He fixed neighbors' cars in their driveways, learning skills that would later become his career. Every dollar he earned was split 3 ways. Some for Grandma Esther, some for Rashad's college fund, and just a little for himself. By the time Deshaun turned 25, he had helped Rashad get into college and open his own small garage. They had survived the hardest years together. Rashad had an apartment near campus, while Deshaun lived in a small place close to the shop. They spoke every day. They thought the worst was behind them. Then came the night when flames lit up the Atlanta sky, and Deshaun's phone rang with news that would test just how far he would go for his brother. The call came at 2:17 a.m. Deshaun had just finished a late job at his garage when his phone lit up with Rashad's neighbor's number. "Your brother's building is on fire," the voice shouted over background noise of sirens. "They can't find him." Deshaun dropped everything and sped through empty streets, running red lights. 3 blocks away, he could already see the orange glow against the night sky. As he screeched to a stop, the 4-story apartment building where Rashad lived was engulfed in flames. Windows shattered from the heat as black smoke billowed upward. Residents huddled in the parking lot, many in pajamas, some crying. Firefighters aimed water at the blaze, but the flames seemed to mock their efforts. Deshawn grabbed the nearest firefighter. "My brother's in there. Third floor, apartment 3C. "Sir, we can't let anyone in. The structure isn't." Deshawn was already running. He dodged another firefighter, pulled his shirt over his mouth, and charged to the front entrance. The heat hit him like a wall. The lobby was filled with smoke, but the stairwell door was visible. Each step upward brought hotter air, thicker smoke. By the second floor, he was crawling, staying low where oxygen remained. On the third floor, the hallway was inferno, with beams had fallen, blocking parts of the corridor. Deshawn called his brother's name, the sound swallowed by the roar of flames. He counted doors, 3A, 3B, until he reached Rashad's apartment. The door was hot to the touch. Inside, black smoke made it impossible to see. Deshawn crawled through the living room, calling for Rashad. In the bedroom, he found him unconscious on the floor, a fallen beam pinning his legs. With adrenaline surging through his body, Deshawn lifted the burning wood, screaming as it seared his arms and back. He dragged Rashad into the hallway. The trip down was worse. Another beam crashed down, striking Deshawn's shoulder. The pain was blinding, but he kept moving, carrying his brother's limp body. When they finally emerged from the building, paramedics rushed to take Rashad. "We have another one here," someone shouted. As Deshawn collapsed, he woke up in a hospital 2 days later, 40% of his back and arms covered in second and third-degree burns. Rashad sat beside his bed, tears streaming down his face. "You shouldn't have come in," Rashad said. "You could have died." "Never had a choice," Deshawn mumbled through cracked lips. The recovery lasted months. Deshawn endured skin grafts, excruciating physical therapy, and the loss of his garage business while he healed. Rashad quit school temporarily to help care for him, sleeping on a chair in Deshawn's hospital room. "I can never repay you," Rashad said one night. Deshawn, despite his pain, managed to smile. "We're brothers. No debts between us." The fire left Deshawn with permanent scars across his back and arms, visible reminders of that night. But something else remained after the flames died, a bond between brothers that seemed unbreakable, forged in fire and sealed in sacrifice. During those painful months of recovery, one face became Deshawn's daily comfort. Zuri, a nurse with gentle hands and a smile that lit up the burn unit. She changed his bandages each morning, talking to him about everything from music to movies, making him laugh despite the pain. "You must be tired of seeing me once every day," Deshawn said once. "Actually," she replied, "seeing you get stronger is the best part of my job." After his discharge, Deshawn found reasons to visit the hospital cafeteria during Zuri's lunch breaks. Their first official date was nothing fancy, just coffee at a small shop near the hospital. But something clicked between them. Zuri saw beyond his scars, and Deshawn found in her a kindness he'd been missing since his grandmother passed. Within a year, Deshawn had reopened his garage and proposed to Zuri with a modest ring. Their wedding was small but joyful, with Rashad standing proudly as best man. Zuri's large family filled the church, welcoming Deshawn with open arms. "I never thought I'd find someone who makes me feel whole again," Deshawn said in his vows. Zuri wiped away tears as she promised to stand by him through whatever life brought their way. 2 years later, little Nia arrived, 7 pounds of perfection with her mother's eyes and her father's determined chin. Deshawn, who had protected others his whole life, found a new level of purpose in protecting his daughter. Those next few years were the happiest of Deshawn's life. His garage business thrived as his reputation for honest work spread. Zuri advanced to head nurse on her floor. Weekends were spent at parks, cookouts with friends, and Sunday dinners with Rashad and Zuri's family. "We made it," Deshawn told Rashad one Christmas, watching Nia play with her new toys. "Despite everything, we actually made it." Life felt complete. The scars on Deshawn's back faded from angry red to pale pink, and the nightmares about the fire became rare. He had everything a man could want: a loving wife, a beautiful daughter, a successful business, and his brother healthy and close by. Has someone in your family gone above and beyond to protect you? Or have you been that person for someone else? Drop a comment below about the bonds that hold your family together. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who stay when others walk away. Let us know your thoughts while we continue with Deshawn's story, because his happiness, unfortunately, wasn't going to last. 6 years into their marriage, small cracks began to form. Deshawn's garage had grown into a full auto repair shop with 3 employees, demanding longer hours. Zuri had been promoted to nursing supervisor, often working night shifts at Atlanta Memorial. Their schedules rarely aligned. When Deshawn came home exhausted, Zuri was heading out. When she returned drained in the morning, he was already at the shop. "We need to make time for us," Zuri suggested during a rare shared dinner. "Bills don't pay themselves," Deshawn replied, checking his phone for customer messages. "This is temporary. Once we save enough for Nia's college fund." But temporary stretched into months. Conversations shortened to text messages about picking up Nia or what needed restocking in the fridge. Date nights became family dinners with a tired 8-year-old falling asleep at the table. The passionate couple who couldn't keep their hands off each other now passed like ships in the night. At the hospital, Dr. Everett Monroe noticed Zuri's loneliness. Tall, confident, and recently divorced, Monroe headed the cardiology department. He started bringing Zuri coffee during her shifts, listening to her talk about her day, something Deshawn no longer had time for. "You deserve someone who appreciates what you do," Monroe told her after a particularly brutal shift. Their first kiss happened in his office after hours. Guilt consumed Zuri initially, but Monroe's attention filled a void that had been growing at home. Their relationship evolved from stolen moments in supply closets to longer encounters. Monroe convinced Zuri she deserved happiness. Soon, they weren't even particularly careful. Nurses exchanged glances when they saw the two in deep conversation. A few hospital staff members noticed Zuri's wedding ring occasionally missing during shifts. No one told Deshawn, but whispers reached the fire department where Rashad now worked. A paramedic who regularly brought patients to Atlanta Memorial mentioned the head nurse's special friendship with the cardiologist. Rashad dismissed it as gossip until one evening when he stopped at a restaurant to pick up takeout. Through the window, he saw them, Zuri and a well-dressed man, holding hands across a candlelit table. Her laugh, the way she touched the man's arm, the intimate closeness between them. This was no professional relationship. Rashad stood frozen on the sidewalk, food order forgotten, watching his sister-in-law betray the brother who had risked everything for him. The weight of what he discovered felt crushing. Should he tell Deshawn and destroy his world? Or keep quiet and watch his brother live a lie? For 3 days, Rashad barely slept. Each time he picked up his phone to call Deshawn, he remembered the fire, the hospital, the scars his brother carried from saving him. How could he repay that sacrifice with news that would shatter Deshawn's world? On the 4th day, he drove to Deshawn's garage. His brother was underneath a car, tools clanging against metal. "Need something fixed?" Deshawn called out, sliding from beneath the vehicle. His smile faded when he saw Rashad's face. "What's wrong?" They sat in Deshawn's small office, coffee cooling between them. Rashad stared at the floor. "Whatever it is, just say it," Deshawn urged. "I saw Zuri at Morgan's restaurant," Rashad finally said. She wasn't alone. The words hung in the air. Deshawn's face remained unchanged, as if waiting for more. She was with a man. holding hands, laughing. It looked intimate. Deshaun stood abruptly, knocking his coffee to the floor. You're wrong. You saw a colleague, a friend maybe. I watched them for 20 minutes, Rashad said quietly. It wasn't friendly, Deshaun. I'm sorry. That night, Deshaun came home early. Zuri was helping Nia with homework at the kitchen table, her phone face down beside her. He asked Nia to go play in her room. Who's Everett Monroe? Deshaun asked once they were alone. Zuri's hand twitched toward her phone. A doctor I work with. Why? Are you sleeping with him? What? No. Where is this coming from? Her voice rose defensively. Rashad saw you together. We had a work dinner. This is ridiculous. Zuri said, standing up, I can't believe you'd accuse me. Stop lying, Deshaun said, his voice breaking. Please, just stop. The silence stretched between them. Then Zuri's shoulders dropped, and tears filled her eyes. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. You were never home. We stopped talking, stopped touching. Everett listened when I spoke. Deshaun felt the floor tilt beneath him. He steadied himself against the counter. How long? 7 months. For Nia's sake, they tried counseling. Deshaun cut his work hours, arranged date nights. Zuri promised to end things with Monroe. For a few weeks, they moved through a painful dance of forced conversations and awkward touches, both wondering if what was broken could be fixed. I want our family to work, Deshaun told her counselor. Nia deserves that. But at night, lie beside Zuri, the distance between them felt greater than ever. Trust, once broken, proved harder to repair than any car Deshaun had ever fixed. Despite agreeing to end the affair, Zuri struggled to cut ties with Everett Monroe. When Deshaun discovered text messages between them, he confronted her again. This time, she admitted the truth. She couldn't choose between them. I need time to figure things out, she said, packing a bag to stay with her sister. Word traveled fast in their social circles. Monroe, rather than keeping a low profile, seemed to enjoy Deshaun's humiliation. He began showing up at places Deshaun frequented, the coffee shop near his garage, the grocery store, even a local bar where Deshaun sometimes met Rashad. How's your wife? Monroe asked loudly one evening, bumping into Deshaun's table and spilling his drink. Oh, wait, she's at my place tonight. Friends had pulled Deshaun away before things escalated. This pattern continued for weeks. Monroe making comments just loud enough for Deshaun to hear, then walking away with a smirk. One night, Deshaun worked late at the garage, alone with his thoughts and a half-empty bottle of whiskey. The shop phone rang around midnight. Still playing with cars while I play with your wife? Monroe's voice taunted. Face it, man. You lost. 20 minutes later, headlights swept across the garage as a BMW pulled up. Monroe stepped out, clearly intoxicated. Thought we should talk man to man, Monroe slurred, pushing into the garage. You need to let Zuri go. She's too good for a grease monkey. Deshaun kept working, ignoring him. Those burn scars must really turn her off. Monroe continued, leaning against the car. She told me all about your little hero story. Funny how saving your brother cost you your wife. Deshaun gripped his wrench tighter. Leave. Now. She's moving in with me next week. We're taking your daughter too. That did it. Deshaun spun around. You don't talk about my daughter. Monroe lunged forward, shoving Deshaun hard against the workbench. Tools clattered to the floor. Monroe grabbed Deshaun's collar, his breath hot with alcohol. What are you going to do about it? Scarface. Deshaun reacted without thinking. The wrench in his hand connected with Monroe's temple. The sound was sickening, a dull crack. Monroe's eyes widened in surprise before he crumpled to the floor. Blood pooled beneath Monroe's head. Deshaun dropped to his knees, checking for a pulse. Nothing. The realization of what he'd done crashed over him. His hands shook as he reached for his phone and called the only person he trusted. "Rashad," he whispered. "I need help." Looking at the body on his garage floor, Deshaun knew his life had just changed forever. In one moment of blind rage, he had become everything he never wanted to be. Do you think Deshaun acted in self-defense? Or was this murder? The line between protecting yourself and losing control can be razor thin. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Was Monroe's harassment enough to justify Deshaun's reaction? Hit that like button if you've ever been pushed to your breaking point. And let's continue with the aftermath of this tragic night. Rashad arrived at the garage within 20 minutes, finding Deshaun sitting on the floor beside Monroe's body, the wrench still beside him. "I didn't mean to kill him," Deshaun kept repeating. "He pushed me, said things about Nia." After the initial shock, Rashad's firefighter training kicked in. He checked Monroe for any signs of life, confirming what Deshaun already knew. "We need to call the police," Rashad said finally. "I'll go to prison. If you run, it'll be worse." "This was an accident, Deshaun." They sat in silence for several minutes before Deshaun picked up his phone and dialed 911. "I need to report a death," he said, voice hollow. I hit someone. He's not breathing." Police cars arrived with flashing lights. Officers handcuffed Deshaun, while others secured the garage. As they led him to the patrol car, Deshaun looked at Rashad. "Take care of Nia," he said. "Don't let her forget me." The case captivated Atlanta media. Headlines painted contrasting pictures. Auto shop owner kills wife's lover versus man defends himself against harassment. News vans camped outside the courthouse during preliminary hearings. Reporters tracked down Zuri at her sister's home, shoving microphones in her face. Deshaun's attorney argued self-defense. Monroe was intoxicated, had initiated physical contact, and threatened Deshaun's family. The prosecution countered with text messages from Deshaun to Rashad, expressing anger about the affair. They portrayed the killing as premeditated revenge. Zuri testified, describing her affair with Monroe, but also acknowledging his harassment of Deshaun. Her testimony was damaging to both sides, confirming Monroe's taunting behavior, but also revealing Deshaun's jealous text messages to her. After a 3-week trial and 2 days of deliberation, the jury returned their verdict: guilty of voluntary manslaughter, not murder. The judge sentenced Deshaun to 15 years with possibility of parole after 8. "The court acknowledges a provocation," the judge said, "but cannot condone taking a life, regardless of circumstances." As officers led Deshaun away, he looked back at Rashad, who sat holding 9-year-old Nia's hand. The little girl didn't fully understand why her father was leaving, only that he wouldn't be coming home. Rashad filed for emergency guardianship of Nia the next day. Zuri, overwhelmed by guilt and public scrutiny, didn't contest it. Within a month, she resigned from Atlanta Memorial and moved to Philadelphia, leaving behind only a letter for her daughter. "She'll come back." Nia insisted during those first months, waiting by the window on Sundays, when Zuri used to return from night shifts. Rashad never said what they both eventually accepted: that some people walk away when the weight of consequences becomes too heavy to bear. Prison life settled into a grim routine for Deshaun. Cell Block D at Georgia State Correctional Facility became his new home, a far cry from the garage he had built or the family life he once knew. He worked in the prison automotive shop, teaching other inmates basic repair skills. During lonely nights, he wrote letters to Nia. "I made a terrible mistake," he wrote in one. "One moment changed everything. Remember that our choices can't be taken back, no matter how much we wish they could." Those letters became Deshaun's lifeline. He sent one every week without fail, describing his day, asking about her school, offering fatherly advice as best he could from behind bars. When Nia turned 13, she began writing back regularly. "Uncle Rashad took me to my first dance," she wrote. "But I saved the dance for you, Dad. Someday we'll have it." Rashad transformed his life to become the parent Nia needed. He transferred to an administrative position at the fire department for regular hours, coached her basketball team, and learned to braid hair from YouTube videos. At parent-teacher conferences, he proudly showed off her art projects and honor roll certificates. "Your dad would be so proud," he always told her afterward. He never let her forget that Deshaun was still her father, despite everything. The ripple effects of that single moment of rage touched countless lives. Monroe's elderly parents lost their only son. Zuri lost her reputation and career. Nia lost her childhood innocence. Rashad lost the freedom of being just an uncle. And Deshaun lost nearly everything except hope for redemption. This true story reveals hard truths about human nature. How love and loyalty can exist alongside devastating mistakes. How one moment of lost control can erase years of good decisions. How family bonds have survived even the harshest tests. Most importantly, it reminds us that rage, no matter how justified it feels in the moment, carries consequences that can never be undone. If this story affected you, please hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your engagement helps us bring more of these powerful real-life lessons to light. Leave a comment about what you would have done differently if you were Deshaun, Rashad, or even Zuri. And make sure to check back tomorrow for another crazy crime file that will make you question everything you thought you knew about human behavior. Life can transform in a heartbeat. Deshaun walked into his garage that night as a free man, a father, a husband, and left in handcuffs. One decision, made in anger, rewrote his entire future. Tomorrow on Crazy Crime Files, we'll examine how a simple birthday party invitation led to a 20-year mystery and 3 missing people. Thank you for watching this tragic story of brotherhood, betrayal, and consequences. Your support means everything to us. If you haven't already, join our Crazy Crime Files family by hitting subscribe. Together, we'll explore the moments that forever change ordinary lives, sometimes in just a single heartbeat.